That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Great to have you. It is the weekend with Joe Pags. 1-800-501-7080. Yesterday evening, I spoke to the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Texas. His name is Dan Patrick, about what happened in Santa Fe, the very latest that we had, and this information seems to be holding true today as well. We also wanted to get sort of a sense of he talked to some of the victims and so on. Dan, I appreciate you coming on. How are you?
Joe, it's always good to be with you, but I wish on another topic. But today is been another tough day for Texas, but Texas is strong, and we will survive this.
We woke up, my friend, with yet another story of innocent children going to school, teachers, administrators going to school, parents and neighbors in neighborhoods thinking that their kids are going to come home and everything's going to be fine. And again, we've got a school massacre where a bad guy shows up, I guess, unboarded. Obviously, he ends up shooting at least 20 people, and then he was, of course, confronted by the school resource officer who was critically injured, and then by the police chief himself. Dan, we got to do something, man. I mean, you're as frustrated as I am. You're a family guy. What do you do?
Well, you know, Joe, first of all, this school, just a little background, was one of 860 school districts that was given an award for school safety that had done training out of over 1,000 school districts. So they were prepared.
Did that training save lives today, Dan?
Absolutely, because part of that training was they assigned 2 armed officers to the school, plus a roving officer. Now, this is a small school district. That was a big school, 1,400 students, but there are only 4 schools in the district, so they have an armed officer, 2 at each school, and a roving officer. And within minutes, and the reason I say they saved lives is within minutes they confronted the shooter. He eventually put his gun down. Said he wanted to commit suicide, but he had lost his nerve at the end.
Right.
And so they took him into custody. Now, the tragedy of the 9 students that we lost, and a substitute teacher, and the 10 who were wounded, and 2 are still in critical condition. But I just was told that the officer who was shot is awake and talking, and that's a great sign.
It is.
But these officers had stopped him, saved who knows how many more lives. So that worked, but Joe, we need to do more, and here are a couple of things real quick. First of all, when I was at the hospital with this young man who was shot in the elbow, he was standing next to the shooter. He was shot, and he hit the floor, played dead, and then when he thought he could escape, but the shooter saw him and shot him again. But he's in good spirits and recovery. He's got a serious injury on his arm at the hospital, but he had a lot of his friends. There was a pretty big room, probably 15 students that were in there with him, and when we asked all of them and their parents, they all said we need to arm our teachers. And in Texas, we allow that. We've allowed it for many years before most states. But we leave it up to the local school district superintendent and parents. So that is something that parents and school boards in Texas and superintendents are going to have to look at. The reason I say it because I've met a young man who was in the next classroom, and he told the story, and no one in his classroom was shot, but his teacher is a Marine, there's no such thing as a former Marine, always a Marine.
Absolutely.
The Marine. And he said, you know, if my teacher had a gun, he might have been able to take him out right away because he heard commotion. He looked out, saw the shooter, came in, and shut the door, barricaded those students in, and saved their lives. So we already allow it in Texas. I think that's one step. Step number two.
I just want to expand upon that, Dan, because there's at least one district I know that does. I mean, the teachers are all walking around with their guns. And nobody would ever try this at that district. But where I am, in San Antonio, which is a huge, area and a huge school system, same thing in the Houston area, they're saying no. So the individual districts have the right to say, we're not going to let them carry. And they're basically telling the bad guy, nobody's got a gun here.
Yes, and then it goes up to the parents. I mean, if the parents